Okay, I think I'm back on track now. Wow. I titled my sermon, God is my ... Well, we humans are adept at naming people, places, and things with metaphors, or that is, with figurative language or words that bring to mind an image that carries some additional meaning. For example, think of the names that we have given our local sports teams: Colts, Indians, Pacers, Fever. Well, these names ascribe to the team attributes like strength and vitality and energy and speed and fierceness and intensity and heat and even friskiness, right? Colts, after all. Think of some of the names with which we've branded our cars. We have a Dodge Ram, the Chevy Impala, the Ford Mustang, the Jeep Wrangler. Well, you get my point, I hope. We humans often choose names that evoke special qualities or attributes of whatever it is that we are naming. I remember when I was a kid, my dad bought a big, white, long, used 1954 Ford. It was really used. It was really out of style. I can no longer remember the model name for that car, but I will always remember the name my father gave that car. He called her Bessie. I recall how on a cold winter morning on our way to church, he would pat the dashboard and say, "Well, let's see if old Bessie will start for us this morning." And then he would turn the key. And usually, you know what? She did start. For my dad, I think the name Bessie brought to mind a sense of affection and a feeling of dependability. My dad trusted that car. She wasn't fast, she wasn't sleek, but she was reliable. So you see, names do matter to us. In fact, they affect how we relate to or interact with our environment and with the people that we meet and with the objects that we use. Names matter to us. And so I titled this sermon, God is my ... So I'm wondering, what names or metaphors would you use to fill in the ... What names or images for God come to mind for you? And keep in mind that we each probably have several names for God that we might apply at different times in our lives. Several names for God ways that we address God in our thoughts and in our prayers. So Psalm 91 actually gives us many, many metaphors or names for God. Can you recall some of them? God is my refuge, my fortress, my shelter, my deliverer, my shield, my dwelling place, my rescuer, my protector, my safe cover beneath his gentle, nurturing wings. You might recognize in Psalm 91 the source for the powerful lyrics in a very popular Christian song called On Eagle's Wings by Michael Jonkas. In an online poll that asked what liturgical song most nourished and fostered the respondents' faith life, this song, On Eagle's Wings, topped all the others. Now, I had hoped that we might be able to sing that song together today, but it's not in the hymnal. But still, I suspect many of you know that song. How many do know that song, On Eagle's Wings? And I suspect that you might have used that song for your own comfort and your own encouragement. And that's a good thing. Psalm 91 has been termed the soldier's prayer, or the soldier's psalm, in fact, because it is so good at evoking both God's protection and confidence in God being there for us. So Psalm 91 is a much-loved psalm, perhaps only second to Psalm 23. Why? Why is this such a popular psalm? One reason is that it overflows with promises of God's protection. So let's listen again to all those many promises. For he will deliver you from the snare of the fowler. Now this could be anything in life that catches us unaware and wants to trip us up or harm us. And from the deadly pestilence. I'm thinking about organisms that cause sickness to us or to our livestock, or sicknesses or organisms that destroy our crops and create financial distress. He will cover you with his pinions, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and a buckler. You will not fear the terror of the night. Think of the robbers who come in the dead of night to steal or plunder. Or think of the drive-by shootings that kill and injure so many who live in unsafe neighborhoods. Or in times of war, think about the enemy who comes to drag you away from your home. God will protect you from the arrow that flies by day. And again, I'm thinking of the crime in our cities, the shootings that occur in broad daylight in our schools, in our churches, and on our street corners. The bully in the classroom that makes our day unbearable, or the bully in the workplace that undermines with put-downs and harsh criticisms. Or the pestilence that stalks in darkness. Think about the chemical wastes that get dumped, often without any notice at all, and pollute our air, our water, and our soil. Or the destruction that wastes at noonday. Think of man-made and natural disasters, the tornado that seems to hit without hardly any warning, the flash floods that come after a downpour, a house fire that might consume a whole block, a factory explosion. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. Because you have made the Lord your refuge, the Most High your dwelling place, no evil shall befall you, no scourge come near your tent. Okay, no accidents, no job loss, no misfortunes. Literally, it seems to be saying that no evil will come to you. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. On their hands they will bear you up, so that you will not dash your foot against a stone. Thinking about driving into the driveway here. Have to be careful about stones, not just big stones, but even little stones. You will tread on the lion and the adder, the young lion and the serpent you will trample underfoot, which seems to suggest that not even nature, not any dangers from the natural world will harm you or impede your path. Those are pretty powerful verses, wouldn't you agree? They give us an assurance of complete and unfailing protection against all manner of misfortunes, pain, and suffering. So let me ask you, when you read Psalm 91 or when you sing that song on eagle's wings, what do you feel? Can you feel a sense of confidence growing inside you? A warm feeling of trust that you belong to God and that God is there for you? Do you feel that you can stop holding your breath, wondering when the next shoe is going to drop? That you can at last breathe a sigh of relief, that everything is going to be okay in the end? Do you feel your heart slowing down, stop beating quite so fast, and that your blood pressure drops? Can you feel your anxiety give way to calm? Can you feel that your fear gives way to focus and confusion to clarity? That you can catch your breath, not just let go of the breath you've been holding, but that you can catch your breath as you slow down, and that you can relax and rest, letting your worries go, that you are filled with the assurance that you are indeed safe. You see, Psalm 91 is powerful not just because it proclaims God's many protections, God's many promises, but it's also powerful because it can create within us such feelings of confidence and trust in our God and in God's care for us. But there is a problem here. There is a problem with this psalm because we know that being a Christian does not exempt us from misfortune and suffering. That is the honest truth. We are not exempt. We are not. We know that troubles have come to us and undoubtedly will come again to us. We know that we will experience pain and sorrow. We know that we will encounter enemies along our way. We know this. All we have to do is read some of the other Psalms who are full of complaints and protests and cries out to God about injustice and suffering that the psalmist is undergoing. We know this from the experience in our own lives. Now, I know that the last couple of years have been hard for many of us in our personal lives and in the life of our congregations. That's been true for me and in the congregation at First Congregational, and I know it's been true here. Here at St. John, you all have experienced many obstacles, disappointments, and setbacks as you have tried to sell your old building so that you could build a new church. Perhaps you have suffered doubts about whether you were really following God's plan for you, whether you really had God's blessing on your efforts. To come so close and yet have your plans fall through, this must be very disheartening. There have been many losses in this congregation, losses of beloved members and leaders, people who were husbands and wives, mothers and fathers, our siblings, our friends, teachers, mentors, those who encouraged us, those who prayed for us, pillars of the church. And there are those among us who suffer ongoing pain and limitations from illness or debility or the simple act of aging. So we must be very careful not to conclude from Psalm 91 that the presence of trouble in our lives means that God has abandoned us, or that it means that we have done wrong and that God is punishing us, or that we lack a strong enough faith. In fact, Psalm 91 itself acknowledges that believers will experience troubles. This acknowledgement comes towards the end of the psalm in verse 15 when it says, "When they call to me, I will answer them. I will be with them in trouble." I will be with them in trouble. Troubles come, my friend, but God promises to be present with us. Now, God's presence with us doesn't prevent the trouble, but when we seek to be in God's presence, when we seek to live in the shelter of the Most High and to abide in the shadow of the Almighty, as verse 1 puts it, when we can trust in God and place our reliance upon Him, in other words, rely on God more than we rely on ourselves, but yet realizing that we are partners with God in this work of service in the world, when we can trust in God and place our reliance upon Him, then we can experience the strength and the confidence to keep moving right on through the trouble. So, as I was thinking about this psalm and what my sermon would be today, trust was the key theme that jumped out at me. Perhaps because I know what you have been through, and I can see and imagine what is still ahead. Trust, I think, is a key theme in this psalm. In his commentary on this psalm, Rolf Jacobson points out that the concept of trust, confidence, and reliance, those three things, trust, confidence, and reliance, are closely related to the concept of refuge. So to seek refuge in God is both to seek protection and to trust that God will see us through. Let me say that again. To seek refuge in God is both to seek protection and to trust in God that God will see us through. Trusting in God is what prevents us from being paralyzed by our fear. Trusting in God is what keeps us from being overcome by our own anxieties. Trusting in God is what gives us the courage to step out in faith. Trusting in God is what helps us sleep at night so that we can be physically restored. Trusting in God is what helps us to live fully, even in the midst of uncertainties and insecurity. Trust, it's a little word. It can be a big struggle. It sounds hard to many of us to trust God that much. But to trust is not so hard to do, really. Think about it. We practice a basic level of trust hundreds of times every day. We trust that our car really will start when we turn the key. We trust that we won't be involved in an accident along the way. We trust that the lights will go on when we flip the switch, that fresh, clean water will be delivered to our faucets, and that the food we eat is safe and free from harmful bacteria. We trust that the air we breathe will deliver oxygen to our lungs and to our blood. We trust that the people that we call friends really do care about us. Without a basic level of trust, we would be frozen in place. We would be unable to move or even to function in the world. Every day we deal with forces and processes that we can neither see nor control. So surely, if we can exercise a basic level of trust in our daily activities, we can grow in our trust of God. As Corrie ten Boom said, "Never be afraid to trust an unknown future to a known God." Never be afraid to trust an unknown future to a known God. So, my friends, let's not be afraid to trust God. It may be a struggle, but it's the key to our spiritual health. As part of our spiritual practice, let's seek to trust God more fully and to depend on God to show us the way forward in whatever situation we are in. Now, I want to tell you, I have experienced you all, this congregation, as being a resilient people, a faithful people, and a welcoming people. And those are very good qualities to have, because when the people start coming through the doors and filling up these pews, you're going to need every one of those qualities to help bring them in and make them part of your growing congregation. The good news in Psalm 91 is quite simply that God is our refuge, God is our fortress, and He is someone in whom we can trust. I'd like to close today by sharing with you a poem prayer written by the Trappist monk Thomas Merton. He struggled. He had his own struggles with trust. And so he wrote this prayer. My Lord God, I have no idea where I am going. I do not see the road ahead of me. I cannot know for certain where it will end. Nor do I really know myself. And the fact that I think that I am following your will does not mean that I am actually doing so. But I believe that the desire to please you does in fact please you. And I hope that I have that desire in all that I am doing. I hope that I will never do anything apart from that desire. And I know that if I do this, you will lead me by the right road, though I may know nothing about it. Therefore, will I trust you always, though I may seem to be lost and in the shadow of death. I will not fear, for you are ever with me, and you will never leave me to face my perils alone. May that be a prayer for St. John.